enjoy all of my work in different ways. Even if it's difficult at times, I still find that it's worth it. I mean, photography has given me a lot of wonderful experiences. Places I've been, people I've met through photography. The making of the work itself, I think it's a really precious thing to find something that you really love doing, and you do it not for anyone else but yourself. I first got in touch with photography after completing my junior college education. So at the time, my literature, I had a very good literature teacher, and then she was my favorite teacher because literature was like my favorite subject. And she saw that I had some interest in art and all that, which is true, I've always been interested. She told me that her friend is setting up a small photography school, and they conduct like short workshops for a month or maybe 2 months. And she encouraged that I go and give it a shot. So at the time I had finished my A-levels, and then I was waiting to go to the army. So I had a lot of free time. So I decided to take up this class. And then straight away I fell in love with it. I mean, before that I've never touched a camera before. But I remember the class was every Monday, and then after the first class at objectives, I was just looking forward to the next Monday. And so it began like that. Once the course was over, it was like, I think one and a half months maybe, just basic photography, and just learning how to use a film camera. I had a fully manual film camera, FM10, and I was just making pictures with that. Once the course ended, I had to go to the army, which meant that my time with photography would be very limited. But I got a job selling cameras part-time every Sunday. And so I started to do that on Sundays, which meant that I had more time, being around photographers who come into the store. We also sold some photo books, so I had a lot of chance to look through all those photo books. We sold pretty good equipment, like mainly Hasselblad actually. So I got a chance to look through all these cameras. Then when the army ended, I became an assistant for 2 years just to learn some technical skills like lighting, composition, and all that. So after that, then I started to make my own work. I have now maybe about 4 bodies of work. Actually maybe five bodies of work, and a few are still ongoing. So if I want to talk about, maybe I'll talk about homework, which I've been doing for the longest. It's been like 4 years and it's still ongoing. It's something that I don't see any. I don't think that it will end anytime soon. I'll just keep on going for as long as I can. So it's a project about my parents. So I started shooting maybe in 2010. Initially, I was very clear what I was trying to do. Most of the pictures, they are either images where they are touching each other. I used to use that as a form of therapy, to make them have physical contact. Because it's something that we don't do in my family. I suppose in most Asian families, there's no physical contact at all, which I always find very interesting. So I try to, photography is kind of like an excuse for them to be physically intimate. And actually they don't even need to be intimate, but just to cross the boundary of not touching. And then there are images where I create some very absurd situations for them to partake in. Because I believe in the therapy of silliness, of the absurd. And that is still very much an important aspect of my work. Because to me the idea of having a window of absurdity in your daily life is something very magical to me. Like today I'm going to take a picture of them dressed up in costumes, and then it takes 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes of something that is completely outside of reality, outside of this world. It's like a 5-minute theater. And I like this idea that I'm puncturing my life with all these small pockets of absurd things. And I find that very, very meaningful. But of late, when I'm making works, images of them, like I'm not thinking so much anymore about what I'm trying to do, or I don't try to rationalize it anymore. I just, whatever occurs in my mind, whatever images occur in my mind, I just go and do it. I don't need any explanation, and I don't need any justification. It's become like just a part of my life. I don't feel any need to really go and explain to myself why or what this image is doing. For me, I'm like, this work, I've done it for quite a while, and it's reached a point where I really don't care what's the reason for doing it. I just know that it's something that I do. It's like a part of my life already. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the theme of mortality, time, and how finite like everything is. Because photographs tell you that in a way. The photographs, they don't change. I mean, even when I have some very old photographs of myself as a child. Then a few times I took out these photographs to look at them, and you realize that, oh my god, like that's me, But I don't know anything like the boy. I mean, sometimes it's hard to even recognize myself. I almost don't feel any connection because I don't remember. But that's actually, it is me, it's like the closest thing to time traveling, And you see that the photograph has never changed, will never change. But you are always changing, and one day I'll be completely old and haggard. And then this photograph of me as a child is a reference for how much time has passed, because it doesn't change. So for me, that's a very interesting thing, like the relationship between photographs and time. And in one small rectangle frame, a piece of paper, it's magical, It's a period that will never change, The more I think about it, the more magical I think it is. That you can hold this material shape of a moment that can never come back. So this thing informs my work. I photographed my parents, I think partly also because of that. Because one day when they are, because family is like, actually not family, family, parents. They are the only group of people who occur to you without your own choosing. You can't choose who they are. Everybody else in life you can pretty much select. You can select your friends and everything. But parents you cannot. They just occur to you. You are born and that's it. Okay, you have these two fellas in your life. So for me, I find that idea very interesting. um, this idea of serendipity, that my life now is a result of their lives coming together. And that's a big reason for me to photograph them. And another reason I photograph them is also because I know that they are going to die someday. These people who occur to me without my own choosing will pass away, someday. And that also kind of makes me feel like photographing them in my own way, So time, mortality, and these themes are big enough motivations to make you wanna take pictures. And you have a lot of these are big themes, right? I think that my strength is that I'm very sensitive to images, and I feel that when I look at pictures, I really see them on their own as things that have a personality, something that exists just like how people exist, they have their own personality. I try to look at them in a way that I'm not sure if this makes sense or works for everyone, but I look at them as far as I can. I try not to think about who made it, or it will be, for me, I don't want to know who made the photograph. I want to look at the photograph just by itself and see if it is trying to tell me something. I think I want to look at photographs as signs or signals. The way that I do my work is not as if something exists. I make my parents perform. Like my work is largely not very, but a little bit performative. So I don't document any real situations like as they are. It's a collaboration all the time. I get them to participate in the performance.